they will pass. Sometimes
Hmm.
when the bad ones come, when the good ones come, we're like, oh my God, yes, like I just want to embrace this and be this all the time. You know, happiness feels really good. But happiness doesn't last forever, because life
Right.
is always going to be challenging you to grow. Life is always
Right.
going to be challenging you to be a better version of yourself than you were today or yesterday, you know?
Yeah.
And so with that comes trigger points. With that comes looking at yourself more deeply than you might have wanted to, you know?
Mhm.
Um, and so that's what temporary is about. It's just about understanding that you're alive through it all and breathing through it all. It's
Yeah.
okay. You're going to be okay at the end of it all.
Yeah, and is that the message you want your fans to get across from this song? Like what are you
Yes.
hoping that they take the most from this?
Yeah, I think that the chorus says it all to me. Like, it's all temporary anyway. Nothing ever stays good or bad too long, you know? Like,
Hmm.
just especially when you learn to let it go. Because
Hmm.
that's my main thing. Like, a lot of the depression and anxiety that I feel, that comes up for me when I'm not looking at how I really feel, when I'm
Hmm.
neglecting how I truly feel about something, when I'm not being honest with myself about how something makes me feel, or an environment makes me feel. When I stay places that I don't feel respected or loved in, um, and choose to stay in those spaces,
Hmm.
like trying to change someone
Right.
else. Like, when you realize that when you learn to let things go and go with the flow and understand that everything passes and everything moves with intention, um that's when you start to loosen up a little bit as far as the anxiety goes. Like, my anxiety comes in whenever I feel out of control, when I feel like I don't have the control over what's coming, you know.
Hmm.
And often I'm not even honest with myself about that. That's the reason why I'm feeling that way, you know,
Right.
because I want to be in control. So how the hell can I
Yeah.
admit that I'm out of control, you know? But
Right.
my anxiety dissipates majorly when I give it up to God. Like, when I sit
Yeah.
with God and I pray. And God can be anything, you know what I'm saying? God is not necessarily linear either. I feel like God is just a reflection of ourselves, you know?
Hmm.
And so as you're when you connect with yourself and you connect with God and you talk through this shit, you know, to something that's greater than you, something that's way more powerful than you, that created all of the stuff that you see around you,
Right.
shit just feels better. You just
Yeah.
realize that you're not as lost as you thought you were.
Right. So if you see yourself like when you were a kid, maybe the age that Anna is to today, there's been a huge growth in you. Can you discuss what that journey has been like for you? Like how it's helped you personally and with relationships and with people around you?
Yeah, I mean, from where I was when I was 14, I've definitely shifted a lot. So before I, was famous, lol. When I was 16, I was hit by fame, quote unquote, which is essentially a loss of anonymity, right? And when you lose your anonymity, you all of a sudden have to grow up in front of people who have opinions about your life, that don't know you, that have never met you, that have never said two words to you, don't know shit about you, right? So, when I first entered the industry, that shit really fucked me up mentally. Like, I'm not even gonna lie, like, I was not well. I was constantly anxious, very depressed, very dark, internally, but externally I was super performative, and that juxtaposition of that super performativeness with that I was feeling, just fucked me up mentally. You know what I'm saying? It really took me for a ride. And coincidentally, the pandemic was the first time that I had the space and the time. And I know this is a blessing and a privilege, by the way. It was the
Yeah.
first time that I had the space and time to really give myself space to heal. Look at all of the things that had come up for me. Look at all of the things that had happened to me, and learn to kind of rewrite these narratives, because I kept getting
Mhm.
triggered by the same things. You know what I mean? The same kind of conversations, the same kind of critiques, if something would happen online where everybody started talking shit about me and thinking something about me, I would like lose my mind and spiral, just like trying to control the narrative of who I am, and trying to make people see who I really am. That was like a constant thing for me. And
Mhm.
this pandemic really just gave me the space to understand that validation cannot come from an outside source. That I cannot be seeking my sense of self and worth from other people, especially people who don't know me, right? So I really, every time that a trigger would come up, I just have to reassess, like, okay, where is this hurt coming from? What is my heart telling me about what needs to be healing right now? What is this belief that these people are projecting onto me? Why do I believe it about myself? And where can I dive in there and give little me some more love, you know? Like, where can I be more compassionate with me? If no one else is going to be compassionate with me, if everybody else wants to hold me to this harsh standard of perfection that I've never made a mistake and I never will, right? If everyone wants to do that to me, then I need to make the space and carve the space out for myself to give myself compassion and to give myself the space to grow and to give myself forgiveness over everything. Because when we go around with this, like, we have like a grudge on ourselves of not being good enough, right?
It's a lot of pressure. Yeah.
It's a lot of pressure. And so when you have that grudge and you're holding that grudge on you, you're just projecting that shit onto everyone around you at all times, even if you don't realize it, you know? So all this conflict comes up and all these people like being a reflection of those things that you haven't healed within yourself, you know? So taking the opportunity to observe and be inquisitive with myself about where those trigger points come from, what those deep rooted beliefs of like unworthiness and deservability, right, come from. And all of that, that's not my fault. That's capitalism. That's not my fault. That's colonialism, you know?
Right.
That's not my fault. That is the recurring trauma that we're going through collectively and that we all need to look at. It's a lot of shadow work, you know? It's a lot of looking at the darker parts of you that aren't pretty and that people aren't going to accept. And loving yourself through that and loving those parts so that you can transmute them and you can transcend them.
Right. So now that we're sort of turning the corner on the pandemic and people are getting vaccinated, they're going back to their life and back to meeting people and seeing people. Now that you've gone through this transformation of more realization during the pandemic, how do you feel now going back to work, back to this, back to that?
I mean, I have strong, clear boundaries about what I need in order to feel happy and safe. I no longer overextend myself. If I don't energetically want to be somewhere, I do not go. And I don't like majorly apologize for it anymore, you know? I just kind of am like, no, thank you. You know, I'm good. Like things like that. Like I used to be like an overgiver. Like I would just give. And I always thought that it was like, oh wow, I'm so selfless, whatever. But really it was my ego who needed to be validated as a giving person, right? Because you can give and be a giving person without having to overextend yourself and losing yourself in that process.
Right.
And I thought that the more I lost myself, the more I meant it, the more loving I was, the more like I was willing to go above and beyond when others weren't. And I would constantly be disappointed by others not meeting me at my level, right? But then I had to realize that I have to have boundaries in order to be able to be pouring from a full cup. Because I love to pour, I love to give, but I had to learn that I can't give from an emptiness. That's not possible.
Yeah. So for someone out there that's going through some really tough times right now, what advice could you give them?
Breathe, baby. I would say take a deep breath. Something that majorly calms me down when I'm having anxiety attacks or bouts of depression. Again, prayer. I know that a lot of people don't understand or care or fuck with religion, and I don't fuck with religion either, so I understand that. But there's something real special about God and our ancestors and the angels that surround us and the light beings that are here that are constantly at our disposal to help us bring more light into our lives. We just gotta ask permission. We gotta ask them to come through. We gotta ask them to align us, and we gotta ask them to guide us, you know? I think that's major. And breathing. breathe in through your nose, hold that shit for a couple seconds, and breathe out, and do it over and over again until you feel better. Because
Yeah.
oxygen to the brain is important. And a lot of the time when my anxiety comes up, I literally forget to breathe. I literally don't breathe. Like, I sit there and I'm like holding my breath for like minutes at a time, and I'm like, bitch, you're not even underwater. Like, what are you doing? There's oxygen here. Like, take that shit in.
Well, I do appreciate you taking time to speak with us. I don't know if you have time to take some questions from your fans, because there's a lot. All right, let's see what we got here. Let's see. What are your tips for finding yourself again?
I mean, I think you got to get to a point where you're sick of your own shit, right? Like, that's where I got. I got so sick of my own shit. I got sick and tired of me making excuses as to why I was feeling the way that I was. And I started to implement more self-care. And that sounds easy, but it's not. For me, when I lack confidence, it's usually because I'm not working out. I'm not doing it. I'm not moving my body and moving that stuff and allowing natural endorphins to flood my body, right? And working out doesn't necessarily mean in the gym doing a fucking circuit ab workout. You know what I'm saying? Like, going for a walk with fresh air is enough for me sometimes to help clear my mind and calm me. You know, self-care is the major thing, man. Taking care, eating healthful foods, whatever that means for you, because everybody's different. Literally every body is different. Every single body that exists here needs different things in order to feel okay. So I can't give blanket advice, to be fair, but find the things that work for you. Make a list. Something that helped me a lot was making a list of things that I love doing, right? Like, with no reward at the end of it. Like, just like, what do I love to do? Like, I love reading. I love cooking. I love going for walks. I love being in nature. I love the water. I love, like, things like this. I like writing. I like writing. So making intentional time to complete things that just make me happy. Like, that just make me feel good. And making time for that throughout my day, like intentional time, like even if it's just like an hour, right? And again, the working out and the eating right, it's not just to like look good for other people to judge you, you know what I'm saying? It's about giving your body what it needs in order for it to function at its optimal capacity. And in its optimal capacity, your body doesn't want you to feel anxiety. Your body doesn't want you to feel scared and helpless and sad, you know? Like, in your optimal state, your body wants you to feel embodied. You know, like your spirit is inside of it, and like you love what you're walking around in. It's just hard with all of the different kind of expectations and pressures and societal norms that are a whole bunch of bullshit, to be honest.
So a lot of these questions are kind of similar, and you mentioned breathing and exercising in order to cope with this stuff, but someone's asked, how do you get rid of bad thoughts?
Man, that's hard. Well, first of all, I want to acknowledge that it's hard, right? It's not something that's just, oh, stop thinking about that, you know? Like, a lot of the time, I'm an erotic overthinker. Well, literally, sometimes if I don't check myself, I will sit in a corner of a room and just machinate for hours about all of the things that are so wrong with the world and my life or whatever the fuck, you know? So I think the bad thoughts, man, meditating helps me. Listening to frequencies, so like hertz, like different. So there's sound healing is huge for me as well, like crystal bowls or like different kind of hertz. If you look up the chakras are energy centers in our bodies. It comes from Indian tradition, the Hindu tradition, I believe. But basically, it's just energetic points on our body: our crown, our third eye, our throat chakras, our heart chakras, our sacral chakras, our solar plexus, and our roots. So if depending on what I'm feeling, right? What are those thoughts about? Am I incessantly thinking about my body? Am I incessantly thinking about I don't know, like what I need to tell somebody, or a conversation that I am anxious about having to have, right? That specifically would be my throat chakra. So I would look up like hurts in the throat chakra that help to alleviate the throat chakra. And honestly, that stuff really helps me a lot. It calms my nerves down a lot. But also affirmations are good for bad thoughts. Interrupting the bad thoughts while you're having them, being like, hey, I see you, bad thought, and actually you're lying. This is the truth. And replacing that, you know what I'm saying, with an affirmation. Like if I have a thought that's like, you're unworthy because your body doesn't look good enough, right? That, let's say I have those thoughts often. So if that one comes up for me, then I'm like, Lauren, you're beautiful. You have, this body is more than what other people think of you when they look at it. This body is the house of your soul. This body walks you through life. You know what I'm saying? This body has electro currents that keep you alive even if you want it to die. You know what I'm saying? This thing keeps me alive. And so when I kind of like interrupt those thoughts with truths like that, it helps a lot. And also just like mindful practices, like yoga is a beautiful practice where there's a lot of mindfulness, where you have to embody that. You can't be in your head. Doing things where you can't be in your head.
Yeah, I love all this. Thank you so much for joining us. This is really great, and I'm so happy that you got to bring attention to this really important topic.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you. Thanks, everyone. I'll see you guys later. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.